sitting in the back seat of what I thought was a Uber, and the driver just said 5 words that made my stomach drop. "Your boss is going down." My hands went cold. The guy in the front seat, mid-50s, tired eyes in the rearview mirror, wearing a faded Carhartt jacket, wasn't looking at me like a driver anymore. He was looking at me like he knew something bad. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, but my voice cracked. "Yeah, you do. You work at Meridian Financial. You work for Michael Chambers." I didn't answer. I just stared out the window at the rain hitting the glass, feeling like the whole car was shrinking around me. That was 3 weeks ago, before everything fell apart. Before I understood that a single phone call was about to destroy everything Michael Chambers had spent 15 years building. Let me back up. My name is Ashley Chen. I'm 32 years old, and I live in a 3-bedroom colonial in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. The kind of house that looks like every other house on the block, which is exactly the point. My mortgage is $2,100 a month. My 401k has about $185,000 in it. I drive a 2019 Honda Civic that's paid off. I'm the kind of person who color codes her calendar and has a meal prep Sunday. I've been working at Meridian Financial for 7 years. Started as an administrative assistant, worked my way up to senior executive assistant. My boss is Michael Chambers. He's 58, divorced twice, always wears designer watches, and has this way of making you feel like you're the only person in the room who really understands him. He's charismatic, powerful, the kind of guy who walks into a meeting and everyone sits up straighter. Or at least, that's what I thought. My husband is Brandon. We got married 5 years ago at a vineyard in Willamette Valley. Brandon's a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company. We have a golden retriever named Biscuit. We take vacations to the Oregon coast every August. We fight about dishes and whose turn it is to buy groceries. It's normal. It's good. It's the life I built. Work is where I spend 40 hours a week, but it's always felt separate from real life. Michael's office is on the 34th floor of the Meridian building downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows, modern art on the walls, everything in shades of gray and chrome. My desk is right outside his office, which means I see everything. I schedule his meetings, manage his calendar, handle his calls, organize his files. I'm the gatekeeper, and I was good at it. Really good. Michael always said I was the most important person on his team. He'd tell me things he wouldn't tell anyone else. Frustrations about the board, concerns about competitors, details about deals that hadn't gone public yet. He trusted me. Or at least, I thought he did. 3 months ago, something shifted. Michael started taking calls in his office with the door closed. Not unusual. He always did that. But these calls were different. He'd get quiet when I walked in. He'd lower his voice. He'd ask me to step out, even if I was just bringing him coffee. I didn't think much of it at first. People have private conversations. That's normal. Then I started noticing discrepancies in his calendar. He'd have a meeting blocked off. 1 p.m. Internal meeting, conference room B. But when I'd walk past the conference room, it would be empty. Or he'd tell me he was going to lunch, but his calendar was blank, and I'd see him leaving the building with a folder I'd never organized, wearing a coat I'd never seen him wear before. Again, not my business. I'm an assistant, not a spy. But then came the email. It was a Friday afternoon, around 4:45 p.m. Michael was in a meeting with the board of directors. His computer was on his desk, and I was straightening up his office, something I do every Friday before I leave for the week. I'm not someone who snoops, I'm not. But his email notification popped up on his screen, and I couldn't help but see the preview. From someone named Jay Rothstein. Numbers look clean. Ready to move forward on the secondary account? I stopped moving. Secondary account. I don't know why those words made my skin prickle, but they did. I told myself it was nothing. Financial companies have multiple accounts. That's the whole point. Secondary account probably meant something totally normal, except Michael had never mentioned a secondary account to me, and I literally manage his entire work life. That night, Brandon and I went to dinner with his parents. His mom made her famous comment about how we really should think about having kids soon. Her biological clock was ticking for us, and I smiled and nodded like I always do. Brandon squeezed my hand under the table. Everything was fine, but I kept thinking about that email. By Monday, I'd convinced myself it was nothing. I had enough to worry about. My mom had called over the weekend to tell me she was having some tests done at the doctor. Nothing serious, probably. The word tests hung over everything. Brandon was stressing about a project deadline. Biscuit had eaten an entire loaf of bread off the counter and thrown up on the living room carpet. Normal life. Normal problems. Then Michael came in at 7 a.m., 2 hours before anyone else arrived at the office, and closed his office door. He didn't ask me to come in. He didn't ask for coffee. He just closed the door and made a phone call. I could hear his voice through the glass wall, but not the words. He was pacing. His free hand was clenched into a fist. He was angry about something. He hung up and immediately opened his door. "Ashley, I need you to pull all the files from the Hartwell account. Everything we have. Make copies. Secure copies. And I need you to be discreet about it. Don't ask questions. Don't mention it to anyone else in the office. Just you and me. Understood?" I nodded. "Of course. When do you need them?" "Today, before lunch." I pulled the Hartwell files. It was one of our biggest clients, a manufacturing company based in Seattle. They'd been with Meridian for about 4 years. Michael handled them personally. I'd never paid much attention to the details, but as I was copying everything, contracts, quarterly reports, correspondence, account statements, I started actually reading things. The numbers were strange. There were transfers between accounts that didn't match the contracts, deposits that came in, then left again, sometimes within hours. It looked like money was being moved around in circles. My heart started beating faster. I told myself I was being paranoid. I didn't understand high-level finance. I was an assistant, not an accountant. Maybe this was completely normal, and I was just seeing patterns that weren't there, because I was stressed about my mom and tired from not sleeping well. I made the copies, sealed them in a manila envelope, gave them to Michael without saying anything. He looked at the envelope for a long moment, then looked at me. "If anyone asks about these files, anyone at all, you never pulled them. You never copied them. You don't know anything about them. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear," I said. But we weren't clear. Everything was about to get very, very unclear. That's when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but it had a Portland area code, so I answered. "Is this Ashley Chen?" A man's voice, gruff, tired. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is David Martinez. I'm a former employee of Meridian Financial. I worked in your compliance department. I think you need to know what your boss has been doing." I looked up. Michael was watching me from his office doorway, his expression unreadable. "I can't talk right now," I whispered. "Then listen. Just listen. Michael Chambers has been running a Ponzi scheme for the last 6 years. The secondary accounts, the circular transfers, the fake client reports. It's all designed to cover up missing funds. We're talking about $40 million, Ashley. $40 million. And you're his assistant, which means you're either going to be a witness or an accomplice. There's no middle ground." The phone felt like it was burning in my hand. "There's a detective named Sarah Chen, no relation, with the FBI. She's been investigating for 8 months. She's going to call you. When she does, you have a choice. You can cooperate, or you can go down with him." The line went dead. I stood there, frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. When I finally looked up, Michael was still in his doorway, still watching me. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice smooth as silk. "Fine," I managed. "Just my mom's doctor's office confirming an appointment." "Good," he said. "We have a board meeting in 10 minutes. Let's go over the Hartwell presentation." I followed him into his office, my legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. And as he pulled up the quarterly reports, the fake ones I suddenly understood, the ones full of lies, I realized that everything I thought I knew about my job, my boss, and my own role in all of this was about to change forever. The real question was, how much had I already become a part of it? The board meeting lasted 2 hours. Michael walked through the Hartwell presentation like nothing was wrong, like he wasn't a man whose entire empire was built on lies. His voice was smooth. His slides were polished. The numbers looked clean because they were manufactured to look that way. I sat in the corner, taking notes, and couldn't stop my hands from shaking. I kept thinking about David Martinez's voice on the phone. $40 million, 6 years, a Ponzi scheme. When it was over, I went back to my desk and stared at my computer screen without seeing it. My email was full of meeting recaps and calendar requests and client correspondence. Normal office noise. Except nothing was normal anymore. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ms. Chen, this is Special Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. I need to talk to you about Michael Chambers. It's urgent. I looked toward Michael's office. He was on a call, his back to me, one hand pressed against the window, looking out at downtown Portland. I can't talk right now, I whispered. I understand. Can you meet me tonight? There's a coffee shop called The Daily Grind on Morrison Street. 8 p.m. Come alone. I said yes before I could think about what that meant. The rest of the day was a blur of pretending. I answered phones. I scheduled meetings. I brought Michael his afternoon coffee. Black, no sugar. Just like always. He thanked me like he always did, and for a moment I wondered if maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe that phone call from David Martinez was some kind of mistake. Some kind of… No. I knew what I'd seen in those Hartwell files. I knew what those circular transfers meant. I knew. Brandon texted me around 5. Working late again? With a little frown emoji. Client meeting ran over, I lied. Probably won't be home until 9 or 10. Rough day? The usual. I left the office at 7:15 p.m. The rain was coming down hard, the kind of Portland rain that gets into everything. I drove to Morrison Street with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. The Daily Grind was half empty. A couple of college students with laptops in the corner, an older man reading the Oregonian. And sitting at a corner table, nursing a black coffee, was a woman in her 50s, with short gray hair and tired eyes that reminded me of the fake taxi driver from 3 weeks ago, Agent Sarah Chen. I sat across from her without ordering anything. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. Not a question, a statement, like she knew I didn't have a choice. "What do you want?" "The truth. About Michael Chambers. About what you've seen." I looked at the college students. They weren't paying attention to us. "I don't know anything," I said, but my voice cracked on the last word. "Yes, you do. You've been his assistant for 7 years. You see his emails. You manage his calendar. You handle his files. David Martinez reached out to you for a reason, because he knows you're smart enough to understand what's happening and decent enough to care. David Martinez is a whistleblower who worked in your compliance department. He's been cooperating with us for 8 months. He's the one who told us to contact you." I felt something break inside my chest. "Why me?" "Because you're the key. Everything that Michael Chambers has hidden, you've been standing next to. Emails, conversations, transfers. You've seen it all, and right now you have a choice." Sarah leaned forward. Her eyes were kind, but absolutely serious. "You can stay quiet. Keep your job, keep your nice house, keep your 401k. And in 6 months, when we move on Michael, because we will move on him, with or without you, you'll be questioned as a witness, maybe as a co-conspirator. Your credit score tanks. Your career ends. Your marriage gets tested because your husband finds out you knew about a $40 million Ponzi scheme and said nothing. Or what? Or you help us. You give us access to the emails, the files, the calendar entries. You wear a wire if we need you to. You cooperate fully. And in exchange, you walk away clean. No charges, no prosecution. You're protected." I felt the coffee shop spin around me. I thought about Brandon, about my mortgage, about my mother's tests that I still didn't know the results of. About the life I'd spent 7 years building, brick by brick, and how fragile it suddenly seemed. If I do this, I said slowly, Michael will know, he'll figure it out. Not necessarily, but yes, there's a risk. That's why we have protection protocols. You mean like witness protection? Like whatever you need to stay safe. Ms. Chen, Michael Chambers is not a man who takes betrayal lightly. I won't lie to you about that. But he's also about to lose everything. His choices are going to become very limited very quickly. I stood up. My legs felt unsteady. I need to think about this. You have until tomorrow morning, Sarah said. She slid a card across the table. Call me at this number, yes or no, that's all I need. I drove home in a daze. Brandon was already asleep when I got there. I stood in our bedroom doorway and looked at him, his face peaceful, one arm thrown across my pillow like he was reaching for me, and felt something twist inside me. I was about to blow up our life. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with Biscuit, my golden retriever, his head in my lap, and stared at Sarah Chen's business card until the numbers blurred. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. Michael. Where are you? His voice was sharp, urgent. I'm home. It's 6 in the morning. I need you at the office. Now. Something's happened. My stomach dropped. What? The Hartwell account has been flagged. Someone in compliance pulled our files. Someone's asking questions. I need you here. He hung up before I could respond. I looked at sleeping Brandon, at my nice house, at the life I was about to lose. Then I picked up my phone and called Sarah Chen. I'm in, I said, and everything changed. I walked into the Meridian Financial Building at 6:47 a.m., and the lobby was empty except for the security guard. He nodded at me like he always did. I nodded back and felt like I was walking toward my own execution. Agent Sarah Chen was waiting for me in the underground parking garage, sitting in a gray sedan with the engine running. I got in the passenger seat without a word. She handed me a small device, a wire, though it looked like nothing more than a phone clip. This records audio and video, she said quietly. It's secure. Whatever happens in the next 24 hours, we have it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. What do I do? I asked. You go upstairs. You act normal. Michael will be panicked about the compliance flags. Let him talk. Let him explain. Get him to admit what he's done. We have the financial evidence. We just need his voice on the record. And if he figures out what I'm doing? Sarah's expression didn't change. Then you leave the building immediately and call me. We'll have protection waiting. I clipped the device to my collar under my blouse and rode the elevator up to the 34th floor. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone in the elevator could hear it, but it was just me and a tired-looking accountant scrolling through his phone. When I got to my desk, Michael was already waiting in his office. He looked like he hadn't slept. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair was uncombed. The polished, powerful Michael Chambers I'd known for 7 years was starting to crack. Close the door, he said as soon as I walked in. I did. I sat down across from his desk. I kept my hands folded in my lap so he wouldn't see them shaking. Someone's been asking questions about the Hartwell account, Michael said. His voice was tight, controlled, but barely. The compliance department flagged some transactions that don't match the client reports. I need to know if you talked to anyone. I didn't talk to anyone, I said. It was technically true. Are you sure? Because if someone found out about those transfers... Michael, what transfers? He stood up, walked to the window, looked out at downtown Portland waking up below us. The secondary account, he said quietly. The one I told you not to ask questions about. The one with the circular transfers. My mouth went dry. He was admitting it. He was actually admitting it. I don't understand what you're talking about, I said, keeping my voice steady. Michael turned back to face me. His eyes were different now. Harder. Like I was no longer Ashley, his trusted assistant, but someone else entirely. Something to be managed. Yes, you do. You're smarter than that, Ashley. You saw the Hartwell files. You know what those transfers mean. I think you should talk to a lawyer, I said. He laughed. Actually laughed. It was a terrible sound, desperate and hollow. A lawyer! Right. Do you know how much money we're talking about? $43 million. 43. And it's all accounted for on paper. Every cent of it is in the secondary account, in the offshore structures, in the shell companies. It's clean, Ashley. It's perfect. It's not clean, I said. It's fraud. Michael's face went red. He slammed his hand on the desk, and I flinched. Do you understand what you're saying? Do you understand that this is beyond your pay grade? That you need to shut your mouth and keep your job and your nice house and your nice life? How long? I asked. How long have you been doing this? Since 2018, he said, and there was something almost proud in his voice. 6 years of perfect execution. 6 years of moving money through channels that don't exist on any official records. 6 years of building a retirement fund that's going to set me up for the rest of my life, and all you had to do was keep quiet. The client's money. The clients are fine. Their money is safe. The secondary account isn't stealing from them. It's a separate fund. Investment vehicles that I created to diversify their portfolios. That they didn't authorize, I said. That they didn't need to authorize, Michael snapped. I'm a fiduciary. I act in their best interests, and their best interests are served by having assets in places where the government can't touch them, where taxes don't apply, where they can grow without regulation. I understood then, in that moment, exactly how he'd convinced himself that this was okay. He'd built an entire philosophy around the theft. He'd rewritten it in his mind until it became something noble, something smart, something that everyone else was just too stupid to understand. I'm calling the FBI, I said. Michael's face went completely still. Excuse me? I've been wearing a wire for the last 10 minutes. Everything you just said has been recorded. Agent Sarah Chen is waiting downstairs with a team of federal agents. You're done, Michael. It's over. For a moment, he didn't move. Then he laughed again. That same hollow laugh, but now there was an edge of hysteria to it. You stupid girl, he whispered. Do you have any idea what you've just done? He reached into his desk drawer. My stomach dropped. But it wasn't a gun. It was his phone. He looked at it for a long moment, then threw it across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. I'm going to destroy you, he said, his voice very quiet now. I have lawyers who will tear your credibility to shreds. I have accountants who will create documentation that proves every penny was authorized. I have board members who will testify that you were acting without permission, that you were stealing files, that you were the one embezzling money. You won't, I said, because David Martinez has already given statements, because the compliance department has audited everything, because your own emails are evidence. Michael stared at me like I was a stranger. You've known about this the whole time, he said. David reached out, the FBI reached out, and you had to make a choice. My God, Ashley, of all the people in this company, I trusted you most. That's exactly why, I said. Because you trusted me. Because you told me things you shouldn't have. Because you thought I was complicit enough to stay quiet. I stood up. My legs felt steadier now. I'm going to call security, I said. You're going to stay in this office until the FBI arrives. Don't try to leave. Don't try to contact anyone. Because if you do, they'll add obstruction of justice to the charges. Michael sat down slowly in his chair. He looked smaller somehow, like he was deflating. 7 years, he said, more to himself than to me. 7 years and I never saw it coming. I walked out of his office and called Sarah Chen from my desk phone. We have him, I said. We heard everything, she replied. Team is coming up now. Don't approach him. Just stay where you are. 5 minutes later, the elevator doors opened and federal agents in dark suits poured out onto the 34th floor. They moved with the kind of coordinated efficiency that comes from doing this 100 times before. They went straight to Michael's office. I heard him stand up. heard him start to say something, and then heard the words that I'd been waiting 3 weeks to hear. Michael Chambers, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. They walked him out in handcuffs. He didn't look at me as he passed my desk. He just looked straight ahead, his face completely blank, like he was already gone. Sarah Chen approached me as the other agents were escorting Michael toward the elevator. You did the right thing, she said. It doesn't feel like it, I replied. It won't for a while. But it is. The news broke that afternoon. By 6 p.m., every financial news outlet was reporting on the Meridian financial fraud. By 8 p.m., it was on the national news. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Meridian financial executive arrested in $43 million Ponzi scheme. Brandon called me at work before I could even call him. His voice was shaking. Ashley, what the hell? I'm hearing about Michael Chambers on the news, and they're saying something about, are you involved in this? I can't talk about it on the phone, I said. Can you come home early? When I got home that evening, Brandon was waiting on the porch with Biscuit. He pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. Tell me everything, he said. So I did. I told him about the phone call from David Martinez, about the meeting with Agent Chen, about wearing the wire, about Michael's confession, all of it. Brandon listened without interrupting. When I was done, he was quiet for a long moment. You did that alone? He asked finally. You made that decision alone? I didn't have a choice, I said. You could have told me. You could have let me help. I was protecting you, I said. If something had gone wrong, if Michael had figured it out. I'm your husband, Brandon said. You don't protect me by keeping secrets. You protect me by trusting me. He was right, and I knew it. I'd made the choice to handle it alone, and I'd justified it as protection when really it was just fear. Fear of involving him. Fear that he'd try to talk me out of it. Fear that I'd lose my nerve if I had to explain it to someone I loved. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be sorry, Brandon said. Be honest. From now on, we do this together. Whatever comes next, we handle it together. What came next was complicated. Michael's lawyers immediately began their counterattack. They claimed that I had acted without authorization, that I had stolen files, that I was the one who had created the false documentation. They dredged up every email I'd ever sent, looking for evidence that I was complicit in the fraud. But David Martinez's testimony was bulletproof, and Michael's own words on the wire recording were damning. And the forensic accountants that the FBI brought in found digital trails that led directly back to Michael's own computer, his own authorization codes, his own decisions. The case against him was airtight. 3 months later, Michael Chambers pleaded guilty to all charges. He was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. He's currently serving that sentence at a facility in Eastern Oregon, about 90 minutes from where I live. I never have to see him again, but I think about him sometimes. I wonder if he understands what he did wrong, or if he still thinks of himself as the victim in this story. I wonder if he's told himself a version of events where I'm the one who betrayed him, rather than him being the one who betrayed everyone's trust. I left Meridian Financial 2 weeks after his arrest. I couldn't stay there. Every time I walked past his empty office, I felt sick. The company offered me a transfer to a different department, a raise, anything to keep me, but I needed a clean break. I work for a small nonprofit now, managing operations for an environmental conservation group. The pay is less. The 401k is smaller. The work is less prestigious. But when I go home at the end of the day, I sleep well. I don't have to wonder if I'm complicit in fraud. I don't have to pretend that I don't see the corruption happening around me. Brandon and I are doing better too. We started couples counseling, not because our marriage was broken, but because I needed to learn how to let him in. How to trust him with the hard things, not just the easy ones. My mom's tests came back clean. She doesn't have cancer. She has early-stage arthritis, which is manageable and nothing like what we were all afraid of. And Biscuit still eats things he shouldn't and throws up on the living room carpet, The one thing I've learned through all of this is that sometimes the right choice and the easy choice are completely different things. And sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything you thought you wanted. But in the end, you get to keep your integrity. You get to keep your self respect. You get to live with yourself. And that's worth more than any mortgage or 401k or job title. Because in the end, all you really have is your own reflection in the mirror. And mine's finally one I recognize again.